So I've got a very nice copy here of Spider-Man #1, newsstand. I think this is the polybag edition. And the easy way to tell that, if it's not in the polybag still, is just look for this crease right down the middle. That's a poly crease. We can get that out. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about getting rid of spine ticks. If you can see, there are quite a few spine ticks on the back of this book. Show you up and down here one time. If I can get it to focus. So what I'm going to do is just show you my process. Not saying this is the best process or the perfect process for doing this. I'm still a work in progress for me. But this is currently what I'm doing to remove spine ticks from a book like this. First thing I do, and I'm going to try and do this mostly one-handed holding the camera because I think the angles can be better with me holding it in my hand like this, is I'm going to lift the back cover up and put in this board. This is a chamfered board here. And I got this off of the Immaculate Comics website. So I do appreciate you making these for us. If you want to just Google Immaculate Comics or check them out on YouTube, you can find that information. I'll put a link in the description as well to this product. Not an affiliate or anything, but I do like the products sold on the website, and I like the YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. So yeah, I've got the board as far under there as I can get, and that just helps us get a nice stable platform from which to get rid of these ticks. And I'm going to use a tack iron to do it. So the first thing I do is I moisten a Q-tip, and then I'm going to put moisture on these ticks on the book, so when I work it with tack iron, it will help shift the way the paper is and get it back into its original state more easily. So I'm going to go ahead and moisten this, and what I do is I take a moist makeup pad like this. I spray it, and then I kind of just stick the Q-tip on there, and I kind of roll it around. I don't want a heavily saturated Q-tip, so I'm just transferring a little bit of moisture to here. And I just do this a couple times, get some moisture on there, and it'll almost be imperceptible on the book. We don't want to be able to see the moisture on there. And if you look at it from the right angle, you can see that there's moisture getting on there. It's just very slight though. We don't want to overdo this. So let's go ahead and just do this. It's definitely challenging doing this one-handed, but for the purposes of illustration in this video, I'm going to go ahead and do it this one time. Don't recommend it though. And a little bit maybe on the top here. I like to finish off. If there's any kind of blunting to the top and bottom of the spine, I'll do that as well last. But yeah, we're ready to go. So all I'm going to do here is get this on the edge of my table. Kind of like so. Sorry for the junk underneath in the background. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a piece of SRP paper. And this is what Captain Mike recommends. I actually, I'll put it on top of the book. Obviously larger size, I cut this down to size. But once I'm done pressing a book, I'll just save it and I'll reuse it for the next time I use the tack iron. And yeah, so what I do is I just put it over where I see a tick. So let's find a nice prominent one here. Maybe right there. And the way I remember where the tick is, because sometimes if you can see the tick at an angle, but once you get back over top, you can't see it as well anymore. Not necessarily in this case. Showing up really good on video here. Is what I'll do is I'll look at my ankles and I'll say, okay, there's a tick here and it's next to the word you right there. And then when I stand over top here, I'll just say, okay, I can't see it on the spine, but I know that I just need to do right here next to this word you. And that's an easy rule, trick, kind of a trick, to know exactly where you're working. Just kind of get a reference point somewhere on the book. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a good look at this one right here. And, there is a little bit of planning that can go into this. This one's a pretty bad one. If it was a very light one, I would use probably less pressure and less time to try and get it out. And what I would do is I'd do like 3 seconds or something, see how it looks, and then reevaluate. But on this one, I know it's going to take 8 to 10 seconds probably to do a good job, if not more. I would rather hit a tick 2 or 3 times rather than really firm and hard one time. So I never use too much pressure. So let me just show you what I'm talking about here, if this will work. Oh, and I just remembered I have a neck holder for the camera, so I can free up my hands here, because I just realized there's no way I'm going to do this one-handed. So okay, so we're going to do this one right here. And I'm kind of looking down, but I can't really see if this is showing up good. Hopefully it is showing up good still. So what I'm going to do is I take my tack iron I don't grip it like this. You know, it's kind of like holding, I don't know, a paintbrush if you've ever done that. And so very light pressure on here kind of equates to light pressure on the book. So I just cover it here. I find my point of reference. The good thing about SRP paper is you can see through it. So I know my tick's right here. So first thing I do is I do a quick heat up. I'll go circle and down. I'm just heating up the paper a little bit before I put any pressure. And then I just casually, I'm kind of counting in my head about a total 8 count. So what you can do is 1, 2, and then you should be going up on 3, 4, and it's just a gentle rocking with about 5 out of 10 pressure here. And I'll do it till I get to about an 8 or a 10 count. And I'm not sure, I'm not timing this one, I'm just kind of doing it by feel. And then we'll take a look at our work. Okay, so let's see. Let me take the camera from around my neck. Let's see what we're looking at. Okay, we're looking at you here. Can you see how much better that tick looks now? Even already? Still there, but it's definitely a lot lighter than it was. This is one I would probably come back and hit. So what I do is I go ahead and hit them all once, and then I reevaluate and maybe hit them all a second time if they're still prominent. And in this case, I don't think we'll be able to completely get these. They're kind of color breaking into the white here. I could do some whitening on this back cover to help hide that a little bit better, but you know, not always. So what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and hit all these ticks, and you can just follow along. Hopefully it'll show up good on camera here. All right, add a little bit more moisture since I've been talking a lot. Okay, and I'm gonna hit this next one right here, heating it up. One little pass here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. It looks a lot better now. It's still there. I'm going to hit it again afterwards, but let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And literally it would take me 2 minutes to do this whole spine. So, I mean, this is not a very long, protracted process. This is actually, fixing spine ticks is one of the easiest things to do, actually. Once you get the process down and the pressure right. So let me think about the pressure again. If I'm doing a very light tick, I probably do like, if you figure you're bearing down all your weight into it, would be a 10. And then just setting the thing on there would be a 1. Probably like a 4 on really light ones, and maybe a 5.5, 6 at the most. Never more than that. It's more, imagine the pressure if you had like a picture you were hanging on the wall and you had a finger on top of that picture and you were holding it up against the wall while you put a nail in the wall. It's kind of that same holding pressure. I mean, it'd be very similar probably to how much I'm pushing. It's almost as if I'm just trying to hold the paper on here from falling, but a little bit more than that maybe. So let's go ahead and hit this one. Once again, I'm doing no pressure at first. This is just heating up. It's literally just laying there. I'm not pushing at all. And then once I get to my count, 1, I'm doing that 4 to 5 pressure. And the tack iron is moving a lot, as you can see, but I'm really not putting much pressure at all. And then finishing up, I did not count there, so I'm just guessing that I did that about the right time. You don't have to be perfect with it. As long as you're not doing 30 seconds, as long as you're not doing 2 seconds, anywhere between 8 and 15 seconds is probably good, depending on the significance. I wouldn't put heat on it longer than that, 15 or 20 seconds at the most. But you definitely have to have it heat up. You should be able to feel the heat on here fairly firmly. And I use this Pro Trim Hanger 9 tack iron, and this is actually, as of this recording, is not available right now. I got it on eBay. Actually, if you go to my website, improvecollecting.com, you'll see all of the tools that I use on there with links and everything. So I got 3 right here. I think I can hit them all at once. There is a staple here, but I think I can kind of work around it at angles. I like to angle in. I'm going to try and hit all 3 of these at once. That way I don't have to do it 3 times here. We don't want to stress the paper more than we need to. So just a nice wider circular motion here, heating it up. And we're like 1, 3, 5, 6. Oops, I don't know what, my count got off there because I can't think. I'm doing it a little bit longer because I'm doing kind of a wider motion. So I'm going to do it a few seconds longer and really hit this one. Probably a pressure of 5.5 here. Okay, that looks infinitely better already. And I'm feeling here, and I can't even feel the ticks anymore. So that was a really good one, and I may learn from that pressure. And if that works on this paper, because this paper I think on these books is a slight bit thicker cardstock, so I think we might need to use a little more pressure than on a standard comic cover. So I just learned that. And so I need to use a little bit more pressure, like a 5.5, 6 most on the other ones when we go back over them. But that did really good right there. So let's go ahead and hit this one. Just heating up. And now our pressure. It's a nice even up and down. There's no jerky movements here. It's nice and smooth. If I'm applying any more pressure than other times, it's probably here and not so much here. This is probably a 3.5, 4 pressure because you don't want to push on the spine here. You definitely could split a spine. I actually did split a spine on a test book one time doing it too hard here. So probably like a 3 pressure, then up to a 4 pressure, and now a 5.5, 6 pressure right there, and then let off again. So it's less pressure, more pressure, most pressure right there. And I did not count on this one, but it's fine. This is a pretty sturdy book. This isn't a fragile book at all, so we can be a little bit more aggressive here than some other books. You would not want to use this kind of pressure on a Silver Age book. Anything that's mid-grade or below, you might not even do this, in fact, because spine splits are definitely a thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start here. First thing I do is reapply the moisture. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. There's one I missed here, and one, they're around the staples here. I need to do those. So I'll show you how to do around staples here first. Or at least how I do around staples. Okay, man. I don't even see this one here anymore. Where'd it go? Must have did a pretty good job on that one. Okay, let's do around these staples here. All right, staples I kind of have to get, you have to get an angle like this. You can't really do like this. You don't want to scuff up your staple. You definitely can get a note from CGC if you're rubbing too hard on a staple. It'll say, I don't know the exact terminology anymore, scratch, scuffed, something stapled. So you don't want to get that note. So we want to work definitely at angles. So find the staple edge here, and we're just heating up. When you're up here, you can kind of be here, but once you come down here, you angle in. That's one. Watching for that staple. If you hear any kind of scrapes or anything, you need to get off that staple. I don't think it would be easy to scuff or scratch a staple doing this, but why chance it? Okay, that one did very well there. That is gone. There's no tick anymore. It's very slight in the first place. If you have a very slight tick, it's very easy with a thicker cardstock. It's actually easier to get rid of those. But once it creases into the paper, there's nothing really you can do on the thicker cardstock. It's just kind of there. You can smooth it out. You can get 80, 90% sometimes. But you can't do 100% like on some books. Sometimes you'll get surprised. Yeah, that is very good there. There's like nothing left. I think there was one here that I missed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that one first. And I'm just going to do my process now. I don't really need to talk you through every single thing. I think I've given you a pretty good idea on what to do. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let me hit this one again. This is one of the more prominent ones. I'm going to use a little bit more pressure this time. Slowly working up and down the spine, using about the same pressure. Once I get to about here, I'm going to do one more little push here. Okay, yeah, that looks really good. That is infinitely better. You can still see the little bit of color break there, but there's nothing we can do about that. The tick is gone. There's nothing there, but you can see where it was though. Let's hit this one again. Nice and heated up. And you will slowly build better and better dexterity for doing this and getting your pressures right just by feel and time and practice. So definitely do this on a bunch of practice books first. Infinitely better. I think that was the worst one, and it's much, much, much better. I hit these 3 again. Go ahead and add a little bit moisture back to it. You want to be careful doing this on darker covers. You want to be very light at first, and if you ever see any kind of like it'll get a little bit hazy, it'll be glossy here and a little bit hazy, you got to stop immediately. Now, some books are a lot worse than others. The pure black dark books that don't have a super glossy cover are the worst ones. I'm trying to think of an example of that. That would be probably maybe Spawn #1. If you look at the black areas or any area along the spine of Spawn #1, I've done a Spawn #1 and I ended up with like a hazy look to the entire spine. I didn't notice it till you get the angle right in the light. So I pretty much don't do Spawn spines anymore. I kind of just have to do it with the press, Spawn 1s. That's an example. I'm trying to think of another one. I'm looking at my wall here for books. Conan #241 was kind of, it's got a darker spine, and you have to watch out for that one. Yeah, that's all I'm thinking of right now. Of course, you don't want to do this on any kind of, I don't know what you call it, that, I guess modern spines, you got to be careful, but I don't really do modern spines. I mostly do Copper Age, Bronze Age, some silver. So definitely check Captain Mike's guidelines. The link to his books will be on my website as well. So go back again to improvedcollecting.com to find out more information. Definitely get Captain Mike's book. Just do it. I mean, it's good to watch videos like this to show people actually doing the process in practice. But for the guidelines on what books to do and all the times and everything, you just got to get his book. It's like the Bible for this hobby. So I'm going to hit these 3 again. Of course, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Oh yeah, much better. Okay, kind of get this up at an angle now and show you up and down the spine. If you remember how the spine looked before I started, and I'm trying to look at my camera here. Yeah, let me take it off the holder here so you can get a good angle. Okay. Do you remember what it looked like in the beginning? Do you remember all those ticks that were on there? Better it looks now. Now I probably need some final touches on this spine that I can't really do while doing this video. But you can kind of see, and you sometimes you'll see something like this. If you look carefully, you'll see where the spine looks like it's been pushed in. So it's uneven here. But once you press the book in the press, that will even back out. And we also have this board still behind. Last thing I'll do here is the top of the spine, because I think that's important to go over. So once again, very light moisture here for sure. You don't want to cause a spine split at the top. And so you want to get that up against there as good as possible for support. I'm talking about the board up against the inside of the book cover. And you can see where there's just like a little bit of a nub there. I don't know what else to call it. So very gently, no pressure at all here. This is all the weight of the iron. That's all you're using here. It's basically the same thing, except it's basically like you're heating it, but there's no pressure. I'm just reshaping that, trying to get rid of that little nub. So you can just basically do the same thing. Very careful, or you'll slip off the edge here, or you'll slip this way and you can easily cause a dent in the book with the tip of the tack iron. You don't want to do that. But yeah, just very gently for about 10 or 15 seconds. No pressure. Remember, absolutely no pressure here. You do not want to put pressure. You will split the spine. You don't want to do that. Okay, you can kind of do this a little bit as well, just to kind of iron it down a little bit. But once again, it's just very light, maybe 2 pressure at the most, if that. Okay, let's see what we got. Yep, it's laying down there now. There's still like a bindery thing there, but there's nothing we can do about that. But yeah, that looks infinitely better. Yep. Yep, that little nub is gone. All right, this book looks very, very good now. And yeah, it's ready for the press, I think, on this side. So yeah, that's it. That was my process for getting rid of spine ticks. And the process would be the same on the front and back. Watch out for your loss of, not loss of color, but loss of like a, it's like a glossy haziness that'll get on the book with heat. And if you're wondering if you have this iron, always low heat. I don't know what the temperature is. Captain Mike does on his website or in his book give you the temperature he recommends. But this is a very low setting on this one. And yeah, check that out. Never use a high setting. You don't want too much heat. In fact, if you've had the tack iron sitting around for a long time heating up, and then you go and put it on the book, I recommend taking and just cooling it off a little bit. Or turning it off for a couple minutes, then turning it back on. Because you don't want the heat iron to be in that hottest possible state. You know how things will continue to heat up no matter what the setting, because this conducts heat very well. It would probably get hotter than the intended heat for it if you just let it sit there. So you don't want to take this iron after it's been sitting here heating for 10 minutes and immediately put it on a book, right? You want nice, you don't want it to be fully heated. In fact, I go ahead, I plug this thing in, and it's fully heated usually within 3 minutes. I'll start correcting spine ticks at 2 minutes and keep the heat down on it. I don't want ultra high heat on the books. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope this video has been helpful. So once again, if you have any questions or comments, would love to hear from you. And let me know, how does your process differ? What do you do? Do you do it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds? Do you use moisture? How exactly do you go about getting rid of spine ticks? And I'd love to hear from anybody, especially the more experienced people out there that do this. And please let me know if I'm doing something wrong, because I would definitely want to correct anything that I'm doing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.